Normally, Saudi Arabia is known for oil and a lot of wealth. But there is a disturbing fact hidden behind this shine. This Arab country may be very rich, but it is also deprived of one of the most important blessings of nature. It is water. It is just like you have a golden palace, but only 2 drops of water to drink. Saudi Arabia is the largest country in the world, where there is not a single natural river. 98% of the land here is covered with scorching sand, and there is almost no rain. But now, in the middle of the same desert, where you can only see quiet hills for miles, Saudi Arabia has started to make its own rivers. These are not ordinary rivers. Here, instead of flowing down from the mountains, water is being pumped up in the opposite direction. Thousands of kilometers long, freshwater pipelines, and an artificial river network, which seems to challenge the laws of nature. But the real question is, when there is no water in this country, where did this water come from? And the most amazing thing is, how did this impossible work become possible? I'll know that the weather in Saudi Arabia is extremely hot and dry. For example, in the capital of Riyadh, the annual average is only 116 millimeters of rain, while its population was 300,000 in 1950, and today it is more than 260 million. And this increasing need has put an unbearable pressure on the water reserves. But when Saudi Arabia does not have natural rivers, where does fresh water come from? To meet its needs, the Saudi kingdom extracted water from deep aquifers deep in the ground for a very long time. This water is also called fossil water, which accumulates in the ground for millions of years, and it will take millions of years to refill it. It is a kind of non-renewable water reservoir. For the past decades, Saudi Arabia has been extracting almost 70% of its water from this fossil water, and then the consequences of this use were also very terrible. NASA's Satellite Data Grace mission report left the Saudi rulers in shock when it was told that between 2002 and 2016, the water reserves underground in Saudi Arabia are disappearing at a rate of almost 2 cubic kilometers per year. That is, every year, Saudi Arabia is using 2 billion liters of water from fossil water. If calculated, at that time, the Saudi population was 1.8 billion, and 310 liters of water per person came daily. While the average person in the world uses up to 150 liters of water a day. It's just like you're using a battery that can never be recharged. First of all, there is no reverse here. On top of that, Saudi Arabia was also destroying its only water source. But what was the reason for this useless use? This lack of water became more prevalent when the government decided in the 1970s that instead of being dependent on other countries, they would grow wheat in their own country. This plan was initiated with good intentions, but it literally destroyed the water supply. The government gave subsidies for wheat farming and encouraged farmers, which increased agriculture rapidly. And then, by 2003, 85% of the country's water was used only in the agricultural sector. This mistake drained the water supply so fast that within 3 decades, the government had to stop wheat farming. Seeing this disaster, it was decided that the remaining fossil water would only be saved for emergencies. Now, if Saudi Arabia does not use its only water source, then where will it get fresh water from? Speaker 1. This groundbreaking project is a plan to build the world's largest artificial river. A project that is not only revolutionary in its large scale, but also revolutionary in its thinking. This human-made river, which spans almost 12,000 kilometers, is being built underground. On such a large scale, such a project is happening for the first time in the world. Under this project, about 9.4 million cubic meters, or 940 crore liters of water, will be prepared daily, which will be achieved through advanced desalination technology. This technology will make the fresh water of the Red Sea and the Persian Gulf drinkable. This artificial river will travel underground, so that the loss of evaporation in such a hot desert is minimal. Its width and depth have been designed in such a way that water can reach different parts of the country with continuous or non-stop flow, even to those areas that are most vulnerable to lack of water or are built on mountains. This project is not just a plan to deliver water, but through this plan, Saudi Arabia wants to revive its dream of self-agriculture. That is, grow your own crops and not be dependent on others. A dream that was considered impossible on such a land. Through this sustainable and unlimited water, Saudi Arabia wants to grow greenery in its barren land, so that food imports have less dependency and the economy can be diversified beyond oil. The width of this artificial river is 11 meters, and the depth is 4 meters. And this entire network, 12,000 kilometers. Special anti-corrosion pipes with a diameter of 2.25 meters are being used to transport water to remote areas. This pipe network is so large that its length can be twice as long as the Nile River, which clearly illustrates the large scale of this project. This engineering marvel is not just a new source of water, but a system that has never been imagined in the world before. Because if only the pipes are laid straight, they can circle around our world. Through pipe networks, water will be transported throughout the country. But the biggest problem here is to make the salty water of the sea sweet. With the Red Sea and the Persian Gulf, 28 desalination plants have been built here. Their job is not just to separate salinity from water, but to do the same with less electricity, energy, and less pollution. This job is not that easy, especially when there is a lot of demand and there is not a single natural resource of water. The first technology is multi-stage desalination. Very large plants that separate salt from water. Its process sounds very simple. Heat the water, make steam, and then condense it. But its scale is really mind-blowing. Imagine hundreds of steel tanks as long as a football ground, where seawater is boiled. Then it is sent to another chamber where the pressure slowly decreases and the water evaporates at low temperature. This steam is condensed and stored in the form of fresh water in another chamber. The biggest advantage of this process is that it can work on a very large scale, and the remaining steam is used to rotate the turbines, so that some of the energy used to heat the water can be regenerated and saved. In addition to this distillation, there is another technology that is working very fast in Saudi Arabia, and that is reverse osmosis. This technology is inspired by the biology of human cells. In reverse osmosis, seawater is passed through ultra-thin polymer membranes. Its holes are extremely thin. So thin that only 1 part of 1 square inch is made. This hole is so thin that not even a virus can pass through it. This system filters 99% of salt and minerals, and perfectly pure water is ready. The most impressive part of this technology is energy efficiency. Due to pressure recovery devices, modern reverse osmosis plants use only 2.8 kilowatt-hours of electricity to make 1,000 liters of water. That is almost the same power as a domestic water motor uses. Today, 66% of Saudi Arabia's water demand is met by desalination. In addition to this, more than 500 dams have been built across the country. Their total storage capacity is almost 2 billion cubic meters. For example, the King Fahd Dam can hold more than 325 million cubic meters of water, which makes it the largest dam in the country. These reservoirs not only provide millions of people with drinking water, but also support agriculture in the desert. And they also fill the aquifers below the ground. But here you must be thinking about another question. When so much salt is separated from so much water every day, what is done with that salt? Remember that 1 liter of seawater contains about 35 grams of salt. So if Saudi Arabia makes 940 crore liters of fresh water every day, it means that 3,29,000 tons of salt is left behind every day. You can guess how much it weighs from the fact that the world's heaviest animal is the blue whale, and it weighs only 200 tons. So this salt is left in the sea again. Because so much salt is left in one place, there are many dead coral zones in the Red Sea today, where the sea life has ended. Experts call it an invisible threat to desalination. Because if this waste is left directly in the sea, the temperature and salinity of the water both increase, which can be a threat to the entire coastal ecosystem. To avoid this new devastation, the Saudi government is now working on deep-sea multi-diffusers, in which this salt or brine will be put in different places instead of being put in the same place in the ocean. Even the idea of brine mining is under consideration, where magnesium, potassium, and rare minerals can be separated from salt to make a valuable resource, and the waste can be reduced. Today, Saudi Arabia has become the world's largest desalination water producer. Not only that, but the Guinness Book of World Records has approved the world's largest pipeline network, and this network is constantly growing. Saudi Prince Mohammed bin Salman's target is to meet the 100% requirement of the entire country by 2030. Another surprising aspect of this project can be seen on the mountains. It is difficult to lay a pipeline on 10,000 feet high mountain.